approval of those minutes.
Sure.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye for the approval of the minute.
Aye.
Ceremonial. I think we have to do it. Okay, announcements.
I have not an announcement, but a question. Would you introduce our new fire chief and our new assistant?
I was planning on that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I figured this was as good a spot as any. Oh, I guess maybe, I apologize.
Well, that somewhat fits ceremonial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could just wrap it all up. So as of probably, well, last week, I signed Gary Martin as the new fire chief and Winter Walton as the assistant. Gary has been doing a tremendous job the last couple months, taking over the role as fire chief. It was pretty much a no-brainer for him to have this position. I mean, the morale's up, he's following the budget to a T. He put way too many hours for his position, so I really am happy that we have him now as our fire chief. And Larry has always got him right behind him and helping him out the whole way, so I feel like these two are gonna make a very good pair.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Welcome. And thank you very much for your service.
Welcome aboard.
Okay. Public comments. We had some maybes in. You want to reserve those for later? Okay. Okay, the first thing that we got on here is Mr. John Evans, and he is going to do the presentation of the 2023 audit. Welcome, sir.
All right, thank you.
Do you need a motion?
We have
I move that we ask Mr. Evans to present the 2023 budget.
okay.
It's new business, so we need a motion to discuss.
All right, second. Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Now then, Mr. John, you may proceed.
All right, thank you. I'm John Evans of Landmark CPAs, and Landmark performed the audit of the financial statements as of December 31st, 2023. Gaines Woods was the manager on the job, and he's a very experienced governmental auditor. He couldn't be here today because he's working in Oklahoma, but so I'm doing the presentation. I always like to point out what an audit is and what an audit isn't. The purpose of the audit is for us to render an opinion on the financial statements as to whether they're fairly presented in all material respects or not. And so we've done that, and our opinion on the financial statements are that they are fairly presented in all material respects. I always like to point out that the financial statements are the responsibility of management and the board. They're not Landmark's financial statements. The numbers are your numbers, and we audit those numbers. So there's two reports in here, two audit reports in here that are our reports. One's on the financial statements, which I just discussed, and it's a clean, unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is a good opinion. The other report is a report that's required by government auditing standards. We perform the audit in accordance with government auditing standards. And we're required to look at internal control over financial reporting and also compliance with laws and regulations. In those areas, there were no findings or issues, deficiencies, or material weaknesses that were required to be reported. One thing to point out is that when we look at internal control, we're not looking at it to render an opinion on internal control. We look at it in relation to planning, our audit and the audit procedures that we're going to perform. So, you know, during the course of an audit, there's a lot of judgment, a lot of sampling of items, because, you know, if we audited 100%, we'd be out here for months at a time. So, as far as the numbers themselves, you know, I don't like to spend a lot of time on the numbers because we're 9 months down the road into the new year. But let me just point out a couple of things. On page 14, the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. The net operating loss for the year was negative $657,000 compared to a loss the year before of $176,000. And that is after depreciation and amortization. After net operating income before depreciation and amortization was $762,000 for 23 compared to 1.1 million for 22. Overall, the change in net position, the excess of revenues, or the excess of expenses over revenues in this case, was negative $677,000 for 23 compared to a net increase in net position of $562,000 the year before. One of the big items that accounts for that difference is in 22 you had the gain on the sale of the tower property, which significantly impacted that number. If we look at cash flows for 23, those are divided up into three sections: operating, financing, and investing. Net cash flows from operating activities for $679,000 in 23 compared to $903,000. So there's, you know, positive cash flow from operations. Financing activities includes bond payments, acquisition of property and equipment, and there was net outflows for cash of $1.3 million for financing activities compared to $228,000 the year before. And then as far as investing activities is basically the change in your CDs and also interest income, and invested in CDs went up, so there's net cash used for investing activities of $231,000 for the year. So overall, the net change in cash for the year was a decrease of $900,000 compared to $364,000 increase in 2022. That's kind of the points I had wanted to bring out. You know, we appreciate the help of Carrie and Jennifer. And let me point out that part of your internal control been an improvement over the last few years is having Jennifer on board as an outside CPA, bringing some increased expertise and just being able to help strengthen internal control by having an outside person involved in your accounting. Be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Yes, Ken Mills, 20 Rocky Top Circle, and I'm kind of confused in all the statutes, and I can't see any, it never defines what the system is supposed to be doing. And district operates as a governmental entity for 12 months. At the end of that 12 months, you go in and you capitalize all of the large expenditures. Reduce the expenses, and then you depreciate like $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. And got to be a reason for that, because the budget is based on a cash basis, the assessment's based on a cash basis, Then at the end of the year, we throw all that out and go to a regular accrual or commercial business.
And, the district issues their audit report under generally accepted accounting principles.
Right.
And as part of that, it follows the standards issued by the Government Accounting Standards Board, GASB, which in 2002, roughly, there's GASB statement number 34. GASB statement 34, which was the first time that government entities were required to capitalize assets and depreciate assets. So, yeah, GASB statement 34. And that's also the statement that requires, in the front of the audit report, there's several pages called management discussion and analysis. And that's also what requires that.
Okay. And so we determined whether we had a profit or loss based on commercial.
But it's not commercial accounting, but it's government accounting. There are some, there's some differences, but the depreciation is like commercial.
I worked with a long time, and depreciation
Well, this,
wasn't,
yeah, but in 2002 is when it was required that government entities start reporting depreciation.
okay, so,
And we're also enterprise accounting.
I,
Enterprise accounting.
I looked that up and all I get is a bunch of software packages I thought that never really defines it.
I think, I don't remember what page it is, but it just,
Enterprise accounting is just
But-
regular commercial,
oh, I'm sorry.
non-incorporated.
Well,
Without
but there's a
stock.
difference because between governmental and enterprise. And the reason we're enterprise is because we are not all cash account. I'm explaining this correctly because we are accrual based accounting on because when the assessments go out, we are recognizing the billings at that time, which
That's
is
the only reason we.
that is one of the distinctions that
Because that would be better off than going on a cash basis.
unfortunately you can't. I mean, the way that this is set up, we fall under the distinction of enterprise accounting, which is a little different than governmental because we are not a true governmental accounting.
Well, like I said, I looked all through the state statutes and I could find nothing in those that said.
I don't know if it's basically a state statute, but I mean, it's a
So federal,
It's required by government
accounting
standards.
standards.
Now, I don't want to confuse the matter, but the state of Arkansas does allow for something called regulatory basis.
Okay.
For cities. City of Rogers is on a regulatory basis, which is more modified cash basis.
And maybe that's the word that I was looking for, modified
Yeah,
cash
under
basis.
Under regulatory accounting basis, you don't record your fixed assets. You have some supplementary information where you disclose it.
okay, which profit and loss is the one that we,
But,
well, the capitalizations take place or afterwards?
well, as far as management and budgeting, that's up to y'all how you want to do that.
You know, they operate all year on a cash basis and I don't think anybody pays any attention to the year anyway. I just, but there is, US standard, GS standards.
And
That was,
Ken, I agree with you on a lot of the stuff that was in GASB 34. I didn't agree with, but that's not up to me to agree or disagree. I don't get the same. Yeah.
so, you know, this year we're looking at $800,000 for the building. And that, right now, that's showing us, you know, $800,000 expense. The end of the year, that's gonna be capitalized and will be depreciated over 40 years. So you're gonna end up with $20,000 expense for it. So you should have generated a whole lot of cash.
thank you for coming in September rather than January 25. We're gonna start our budget preparation next month, October, November, December. Have it done by probably 1st of December when the new board takes over, but, so that really helps a lot. And having Jennifer. Along about, June or July, when, Rich Fagans took over as general, district manager, he, had word from Jennifer. Some of us knew that there was some problems in terms of being over budget. In other words, we had, or we were, it needed to be redone. And so, but I think that was that before or after your auditors came in? What would that look like to you in terms of some of your statements and conclusions?
Well, yeah, we don't present, actual to budget comparison. So that's strictly a management tool.
Okay.
So it's probably done after Gaines was out here. Yeah.
It was approved, the revised budget was approved after Gaines had,
Right.
after Gaines had already, left and, done the audit.
For instance, one thing you should do is for the CDs, you mentioned 35% is what it said must keep in. So that's in here.
Yes, yeah, all the reserve, requirements were met, yeah, you're in compliance with all of those.
As a CPA and a long-term professional in business, when you're coming here today to make a report to the board, which is public information, you're saying that the situation financially for a high SID is good for government and county.
Well, the numbers are good.
Numbers are good.
The numbers, the financial reports in our audit report are good numbers. We don't render our opinion on whether you're in a good financial position or not, or a good financial shape. Now, our requirement there is that we look 1 year down the road to see if you're going to, if there's a going concern issue, and there's no, even though your cash has decreased, there's no issue as far as 1 year down the road whether you're still going to be around or not.
Now, this report goes into the county and it also goes to the state, I understand.
That's correct.
And if there was something missed, then they get back to you and us. But you would try to point that out first in your report, right?
Right, but there's nothing, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing in the report that require any additional follow-up from the county or the state. But if they had concerns about the numbers, they would certainly contact.
I asked a couple of years ago, I think when you reported, about point of sale audit. We have a pro shop up here that takes in a lot of money. We have a rec center that not so much, and even here at the administration building. But I believe you said you don't do that as part of the audit, is that correct?
Not typically, no, because we look at the areas that are more material, which would be the water and sewer, and also the assessments. Those are the areas that we key in on. We gain an understanding of what goes on there, but we don't really test it very much.
Bills.
Could I ask you one other question, John? The depreciation is like 1.2 or 3. Do we have asset set up that we're showing a cumulative depreciation against those assets? Because that seems like a lot of depreciation. We haven't built anything in 50 years.
Except last year.
That was $800,000. You're talking about $1.2 million or $1.3 million depreciation, and your depreciation roads and golf courses and everything. And there's not been any significant additions to those. I mean, it's maintenance. So how are we? I'm just wondering. We are keeping.
Yes, there's a schedule that
I've not ever seen that.
looks at. But you're streets, roads, sewer system, water system.
Okay, I know we built a new sewer plant in 2006 or something. It's $6 million. It seems like an awful lot of depreciation. Keep cut.
But it's good, related to that, it's always good practice for management and the accounting department to go through the list of assets to see if there's anything that needs to be removed or obsolete or has been disposed of.
And when I first got here, that was one of, I cleaned it up, and I've worked with Gaines to clean up the fixed asset schedules, because there was a lot of things that when I first got here, I got with the department heads, and there was a lot of stuff they're like, well, we don't know what this is, we don't know what this is, and things, and we've made
So
notes.
We do have a handle on it now.
Yes, sir. And actually this year, I don't think it got done last year the way it should have. I'm actually here this week. I'm staying a few extra days. Mr. Brown, we are going to start the preliminary budget for 2025. We've got meetings with the department head just to go ahead and kind of start that, to kind of see where we're going to be at. And one of the things is to give the department heads the listing so that we can go through it again. Because that does need to be updated and looked at, every few years, just to ensure that the department heads understand what's on their listing, and to, make sure that we've got accurate schedules when they're given to the auditors every year. And I know we just had a purple wave auction that several, assets will go off, a few items. So I always try to reconcile with what gets sold during the year with those schedules, get everything taken off, and then the new ones added, and then every couple of years for the department heads to review what's on there so that they can say, yes, this is still good. Oh, no, we forgot about this. We might want to sell this. And, that way Rich will have a good understanding of what we have as far as in need of repair or look down, and that helps us looking down the road to kind of for capital improvements or and stuff. So that's one of the things that I did work with.
The only thing worse than the older gallon is a new one.
Sorry.
Not doing anymore.
Any further discussion concerning the audit? Thank you very much, John. Appreciate you and appreciate the work that you have done.
Well, you're very welcome. Yeah, we appreciate you all, and to Ken's point, I'm glad I'm here in September instead of January.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Okay, we got the financial statements for August.
We need to vote on
Oh, okay, yeah.
approving the financials.
make a motion, we accept the audit.
That's
I'll second that.
been moved and seconded.
Any further discussion?
What I heard just here, actually what the audit did was just verify the accuracy of numbers. I don't know about good numbers, bad numbers, but
Yeah.
accuracy
It-
is all the audit really did.
That's what an audit does.
It's just verifying the accuracy of our
That is
book.
correct. Yes.
Okay.
All right, we have, any further discussion?
Page 7, John, of your report, I think we're gonna use that, in a big way, next month, starting with the budget. You've got, about 12 bullet points there about increasing operating revenues, decreasing operating revenues. Very important, different departments, and different parts of ISID that we could look at. Water, sewer, streets and roads, fire security, those are gonna be things that I would look at next, for the budget. So,
Any further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor of approving the audit, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
thank you, John.
Take
We
care.
have the August, July, and August financial statements. Everybody had a chance to review them.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we receive and approve of July and August financials.
Have a motion to approve the financial statements.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
before a vote, Jennifer, I like when you put a paragraph or two before the financials, but anything that jumps out at you in July and August that are unusual or that we should take notice of?
Probably the only thing that I would say right now is after the revised budget, when on the revised budget, after that was put into the system and the O&M numbers were calculated, if you look on the CDs, your CD reserve right now is higher. We're at about 41%, which means we could take some of that money out, or we could, kind of move it and keep it in for the what is the name? The vehicle reserve, I think, because equipment reserve. We could do that. But my suggestion right now, because I know we've got a couple of CDs that are fixing to mature in October, is not try to move any of that money out from that back into the general fund right now until we get the 2025 budget, because you want to make sure, because you don't want to take some of that to go back down right now when we don't know where the numbers are going to be for 2025, even though your reserve is, a little higher than what's mandated to do. I would suggest, waiting until we know kind of where we're going to be at 2025 before we make any decisions of what to do with that little bit of extra reserve.
Is that 41% the increased interest that we've gotten on some of these CDs?
Well, it's that, and it's because of the decrease of the 2024 O&M budget. Because what happened at the beginning of the year, the O&M budget was so high, we didn't have enough money in the CDs to meet the reserve requirements. Therefore, we did a CD for approximately $50,000 at the beginning of the year to meet the reserves. But once the revision got done, and you put in the new O&M numbers for the revised budget, it brought that reserve amount up, which I believe, am I looking at August? I'm looking at July. The August number, just what the reserve number is, it's at 42% right now. So you're 7% above what is required, which isn't going to be a huge number, but like I said, even with those CDs fixing to mature in October, I wouldn't take out as long as y'all approve it and allow with the understanding to know that we're just a little high going into the end of the year. And then after that, we can adjust once the 2025 budget is approved.
I would say, looking at the maturity schedule, the biggest ones are January and February this coming year. And that 50,000 matures, well, there's a little lot of work then. January 29th is the maturity date on that 50,000. And should we decide, it would be logical not to reinvest the 50 and maybe adjust the next one that comes due somewhat lower. But for the time being, it makes sense to leave the CDs as they are when they come due here.
Because the other thing too is Fed's just dropped interest rates, so the interest rates are going to start dropping.
Yeah.
So we may not get as high of interest on our next CDs, so we may not be pulling in as much. So that's why I'm saying, just for y'all to note, we are above what's required at the reserve, but right now I would just leave it and not take out anything until the January ones, because by that time, when those mature, if there's some money that we don't need to reinvest, we can put it into the money market and then just reinvest the CDs at that time. That way, because if you try to take money out of a CD right now, you're going to pay penalties. Well, there's no sense in doing that. Just as long as y'all are okay with the reserve running a little high, then we can do that.
Sure, is on the revised budget. I think you and Rich went through and made a lot of changes, but are there still like 100,000 or more to reduce from the current where are we on that?
But right now, as far as revenue and expenses, you're right, right on, because, this, after August, you're at approximately 66% of your budget. And if you look at some of the detail, that I provide, most of the departments, are running right at 66%. So they're right there. With the revenue, you were a little low, and going into your last fourth quarter, you're not going to get as much revenue in the departments like the pro shop and rec center and things like that, because they're going to be slowing down due to the weather. You will see the increase probably in revenue in October, because that's when people are going to start paying their assessments.
So you're suggesting that we take those CDs that when they come due and just put them in our general fund until the first of the year, until we,
No. You can't put those CDs in your general
I thought
fund.
that's what you said.
No. You have to reinvest those.
Yeah, okay.
You
Yeah,
have
I
to-
understand, and that's just what I was gonna ask you.
Yes, what I was saying is there will be like a small amount, because you're, whatever the difference between 42 and 35%
Right,
is.
whatever that, then you can
Yes.
take that 7% out.
We could, yes, but
But
that's
you're
what,
suggesting not to.
not in October.
Okay.
Because
that's
you've
fine.
got that,
That's
because
all
you've
I
got
wanted to
that,
clarify.
yes, sir, because you've got that small $50,000 one that's coming due in January.
Right.
That will be after the 2025 budget is approved and everything, and we can see with that, what that O&M budget is, where your reserves are at that time, and we can adjust off of that small CD.
Correct, yeah, I just want to clarify that we're
Yes,
just talking about the 7%.
Yes, sir, but that was what I was trying to say with those that are coming due.
That's good, thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, one other question. So if there were any monies that were to be starting July, and you did a lot of those, you're saying that we're right on target now, probably because the departments are spending less, and the general district managers look very carefully so that we're not upside down with a few months. It's not accounting term. You know what I was talking about, Rich? That you're sort of putting the brakes on new spending and trying to come out at the end of the year that we're even the amount of money we get in versus the amount of money we spend. Is that correct?
Okay, we have a motion to approve the financial. A second, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, we're gonna take a short recess for a section. Yes, sir.
Next, where you recess, because I don't plan on being here when you get back.
Okay, all right, we'll let you do that.
Why don't, Mr. Chairman, why don't we move to the executive session to after the other motions that have been added? Is that a problem?
No, it's not. I think that's a good idea. Thank you, Phyllis.
There's two more things on the agenda.
Okay.
Then I'll just sit back down and wait my turn.
Okay. We added, the city, assuming the responsibility for the road and the fire department. Have any discussion on that?
Well, I think we just need to address and ask the city to look into the road department at the time being, and not the fire department. I think we just do them one at a time, take a look at that, and we need to send a request to the city for them to take a look at it. An official request.
I have a question about the legality of all of that, because.
We're just looking into it, ma'am.
Second, go ahead. Go ahead.
We have, those are assets of HICID. And if we lose those assets, that reflects on our benefit assessment and what we can charge on our levy. And just, if Rich would look into it and get a legal opinion, I don't think we need a motion to consider. To do is instruct the district manager to come up with an idea, a proposal on it.
I think we have to let the city look at, see if it's feasible. I think they will look at
That's
it.
what I'm talking about, is Dan and Rich working together to see if a feasible plan can be laid out, and then to consult with our legal department, our legal staff,
Correct.
and make sure we're in compliance with the state regulations and the HICID regulations.
And if we are, then we can reduce the cost to the taxpayers, if the city takes over, because they'll have to increase the revenue to get that stuff taken care of.
And that opens a whole other can of worms, but, I think getting rid of Heisen's assets can't possibly be a good idea.
So, is it on?
Mhm.
So I went and met with, Hutchison last week and had a discussion with him. There's ideas out there, nothing that I want to discuss right now, because we're still in the working process of it. But there's options, and me and Dan will sit down, I talked to Dan beforehand, told him that we can talk about the different things we can do. I don't want to discuss right now in the meeting, but there are options out there for both the city and IC.
Okay. Very good. I think there's probably a lot of discussion or legal ramifications that we need to check out, on all these things, because, again, if you actually, well, the city has been very generous, in getting, grants for the roads improvements that we have in the past and will have in the future. That's been very beneficial to the entire community. And, but again, there's this AOB, it is $1 billion that were spent on roads out of the district's, bonding capacity. And that was just a drop in the bucket to what actually the road will cost, because the developer did the rest of it. And, but anyway.
I have one more comment.
Yes, ma'am?
If we were to turn this over to you're concerned about the taxpayers. We are going from a tax paying base of 7,000 property owners to 3,000, city, property owners, cities, taxable properties. And it, again, their budget, I don't think right now would allow for them to, you have to be talking, what, no levy or a levy increase?
Well, I think the city could get a lot more grants than we can for the roads.
Well, we can't rely on grants because we've got.
Why not? At least we can check in and try.
And the other item that we have,
So
I think,
are we postponing conversation about that?
there's a lot to be done on that. It's in the middle, but it's at the starting point of the, yeah, let's table that.
Postpone.
Hear a motion.
I'll make a motion to table it until we hear back from our attorneys.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We table it. Okay, the other item that was on here is the leasing of the apartments in this building, the little down below.
Right.
I think that's a management call, and
I got a little bit on that. I don't know if it's a management call or what, but I'm sure Rich is gonna be the important person, but I brought somebody up here that, was willing to lease, but I find out, Richard, am I incorrect? Do we furnish electricity down there? You were renting a one-bedroom apartment for $300 a month,
Yes,
including electricity?
electric and water.
That is far, far too cheap. We should be in that neighborhood and we need some kind of assistance from some kind of realtor to help rent those, and I brought one up, and they are willing to rent one of those apartments and willing to make sure that those apartments are not, bases are taken care of. And I think, we ought to discuss the amount, anywheres. I think that a double apartment, with the 2-bedroom, I don't know if you could get one for $1,000 a month, could you?
No.
What do you think?
No. I think realistically, we ought to be getting $1,200 a month for a 2-bedroom, $900 for a 1-bedroom.
600 to 700 square foot home right now is going for $1,000 a month.
And secondly, you brought up the thing that, some of the gals in the office we're concerned about Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Well, let me, and you come to my house and you try to get on my Wi-Fi, you can't get on without a password. So that's not a concern. And secondly, we're already written down there. So that means to tell me that that statement you made to me is very incorrect. Because there's no way, if we've been renting those places down there and it's having Wi-Fi, they can't get into it anyhow.
So here's my concern is, and it's just a concern.
We have somebody there already.
Yes,
He's on the staff.
he's also a staff.
He's an employee.
He's an employee.
Don't make any difference.
I think that's a budget item that should be taken into consideration when we figure the budget, get the budget going. I don't think that's anything that requires,
But don't you think we should think about raising the rates?
I think
I think that's a part of the budget.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a comment on this. Renting an apartment to one employee whose current salary is $51,393 a year, and we're giving him supplemental rent at $300 a month, including utilities. Is he getting a 1099 or anything on his taxes? To me, that's income.
I agree wholeheartedly.
I mean,
Yes.
come on, that's $900 given a guy that's making $51,000 a year for $300 a month. What's wrong with that picture?
It's overly generous. Yes, I agree. We need to.
I understand early on, a few years back, that we were putting in minimum wage in those apartments to supplement their living expense. But I don't see that with a full-time salaried employee making $52,000 a year.
I agree.
I think, again, those are all budget items. And I think the board needs to take a long, hard look. There's two things that I think that we need currently. And I think that is a list of employees, a job description of the employees, and the amount that they're getting paid.
Well, we gotta wait till, Larry, I have a person who would rent one of those right now, tomorrow, if we okay it. And right now, we have two of them open, they're not even being used. Rich has got some furniture in them, that was it. So aren't we interested in making that $500 or $1,000 a month for a one bedroom apartment? Aren't we, we got the facility there. Why not rent it? I mean, we're already renting one. If we just kick the can down the road, we're losing between now and we get that budget, we're losing a couple, $3,000.
If we got, I think that's a management thing.
Well, then Rich has got to make that decision.
Yes.
My idea, can we put this, I just wrote this down for the work session next month, and that way we can go over the work session, you guys can come up with a price, and then that way we can set it for next month, or is that?
I think we have a special meeting and get that done right away. We don't need to wait a month. We're losing money.
The apartment I am staying in, I need some plumbing repairs, the toilet runs and the shower faucet runs. And then the apartment next to me, the refrigerator does not work. So there would be three things I would definitely have to
Well,
take.
can't we take the refrigerator out of the one that needs a repair on the 2-bedroom, put it in that one, and go ahead and rent that one out for the time being?
Yes.
That would be the smart thing to do, rather than just pass up the money.
And I think this is a management decision. I don't think that we need to dwell on it. We got other business that
We got our business, but it's just, that is business that is income, because if we're talking about budget, and we need to get going with it, not just keeps talking about things and putting it off a month.
I agree.
So I would prefer if you guys would go ahead and vote on renting of the apartments downstairs.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I have one comment to make. Several years ago, when Jack Deaton was fire chief, he and his many volunteers made a file room down there with thick fireproof, I would call them landscape logs, but whatever. And the fire could not happen down there. And a lot of our records that we have to keep are down there, which was one apartment. Okay, So there's not 4 down there anymore, is that correct?
There's three.
There's three.
Three. Yeah. I'll make a motion that we, give Rich the okay to rent those apartments.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I feel like, we have a security risk. I know you know the person that you wanna rent to, and that's fine, but when we start getting rentals at a good rate and putting them in our building, there's a risk, there's all kinds of risks
Well,
involved.
then we already are, ma'am. We already, before that, we had other people down there.
Those rooms, those apartments were used for employees who needed it,
We don't have anybody using them now.
and it's not
Let
hurting
me
us.
ask, what is the security risk that you're identifying?
Well, knocking down a door and coming up and stealing things.
Somebody kick in that door and do the same damn thing. We have alarms, am I correct?
Yes.
I don't see it as a security risk. We have doors and windows all over this building.
Okay.
Because someone is renting an apartment down below does not increase that risk. As a matter of fact, it probably lessens the risk because no one's gonna break in here knowing there's people downstairs that can hear them.
Okay.
Identify the security risk that you brought up. You brought this up in the work session as well. That's why I wanted to identify what those risks are.
It seems to me that we have a lot of valuable, we were broken into and had computers stolen. It was before we had an alarm system. We have, you say you can't get the password. Somebody wants to hack into our account, so
We can't stop that. There's no problem.
we can't if they're not on our
Because they
Wi-Fi.
can't get into restricted stuff in the first place.
Well, I just,
Mr. Chairman, I made a motion, it's been seconded, and I call for, you call for.
and he asked for discussion. I am entitled to provide my discussion. Thank you. Put it to the vote.
Okay. All right, we'll proceed with the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
No,
Motion carried. All right. We have suggested another amendment having to do with the A&P tax. It's still a budgeting item. We made the statement that we weren't going, the board of us are going to get into politics and discuss this, but this A&P tax could be very beneficial to the suburban improvement district as a way of promoting Holiday Island. Right now, we have a budget that allows for advertising 2%. But anyway, this would take that budget item basically out of our budget.
I think that's a good idea.
I do too. And anytime you can save money, it's a good idea. And
Well, perhaps the money that we'd save in the advertising, we could use better funding the fire department and their answering calls and stuff that they got deprived of in the budget cuts. Maybe there's some money there that we can give some of that back.
I agree with the premise. However, I feel like we should wait until after the November election. It'll be before our budgeting is done. Let's find out if this passes. And then we can make a decision as a board what we want to do with our allocated portion of the A&P tax.
well, we won't have any allocation of
Okay,
that because that will be up
Okay.
to the.
then we will at least have an idea of how much they would be willing to supplement.
Yeah.
I think it needs to wait.
I
My
think-
point is, wait.
I think the idea of doing this is fantastic. It's a good idea. It will help. It does not hurt anybody. It's a good deal.
I think we ought to vote on this and not wait a month.
I see no reason to vote until the vote has been passed and the A and P tax is in place.
Okay, let me read the motion. I make a motion to approve the restriction of 75% of the advertising budget and to reserve that amount for the fire department budget. If the A and P tax is passed in November, this is a critical step to ensure that the fire department has adequate financial resources for its operations and preparedness. That's the motion that was submitted to us.
So the motion's basically just asking us to take 75% of our advertising budget, which we're now spending anyway, and approve the motion that we'll give 75% of that money we're now using, set it aside in an account to use later for the fire department.
I think that has to be determined. I think what the motion really is that we would be saving the average over to the A and P tax. That would come out of our budget. As far as the fire department's concerned, that's a budgeting item for the manager and everybody to do. We're not gonna, I don't think that we should say, okay, we'll take that $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 and give it to the fire department. No, I don't think we're gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that, but anyway, this A and P tax is vital to this community. And I think it would be a great advantage to us.
Since I'm on, Rich has appointed me there, and I've been serving, with, our estimate, I think, we have two members here now, the chair, Bryce, and, Peggy, secretary. But, I think we, estimated 50 to 200,000, depending would be the amount tax to come in, next March. It doesn't start till March, okay? And we have currently, I think it's, Mayor, 94, part of short-term rentals. There may be a few more coming up. So if, I think the motion said, 37.5 would be, dedicated from that money from the A and P to PICE. And so we feel it's a good thing, as Larry said. Every other community has it, and you passed the motion a month ago or so to that idea. You know, you can vote whatever way you want on it on November 5th, but support it because it's going to help all of us, and it's going to help our budget as well.
And, you know, it's not taking a cent out of any property owner's pocket. It's strictly a tax on, that's levied against the people that are bringing them. They're coming here. They do it in Eureka Springs. They do it everywhere. And we're just missing out on it if we don't do it. And it's a good function.
Can we,
I think the question that begs to be answered is, what if this does not pass on November 5th? And no one's talking about that. This here is addressing if it does pass.
Mhm.
What if it doesn't?
And I guess we'll just stay in limbo as we are.
That's why I think we can wait another 6 weeks. We can wait until after the November election to see what happens. Then we will know that what we can
I think
expect.
also, no, you're accurate. No matter what we do today, it's gonna be revisited again after November 5th.
Yes.
So
Okay,
that we're not gonna put this to bed today.
and let's not talk about it today.
I think I think the magic word here is, we like the concept.
Yeah.
That's the new word to get back. We have concept. But,
Sorry.
but anyway, I think we should, say, okay, we understand the concept and we will address it.
that's good. Good by me. Good by you. Bill, is that okay with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now, we can't make any decision.
Right.
Basically,
Right.
we don't know the outcome.
Right, exactly.
Okay, now then, we're going to recess for a few minutes for the mayor, after the mayor gets there.
Say we have some discussion after.
Postpone.
I've got it.
You can't have discussion afterwards.
Keys, I just wanted to bring this up while everybody's here, including our fire department people. And the thought occurred to me during all of the audit discussion. In our last city council meeting, we approved spending $54,000, give or take, couple on buying some new radios for the fire department and doing all the programming for all of the new radios. And we agreed in the meeting that the vendor would just invoice the city. However, after listening to all this discussion today, things on the books and stuff like that, I'm saying this for you guys' benefit as much as anything. I think we should let the vendor invoice the district and have the city reimburse the district under the, because otherwise, technically, we're gonna have an asset, the city is gonna have an asset that's gonna reside in the fire department. Technically, we're supposed to keep up with that asset. We're supposed to be able to prove that we can find those assets and things like that. I think it'd be a lot cleaner if we just let the asset belong to the district and we reimburse the city or the district under the interlocal agreement. So if that's okay with everybody.
I have a question, Dan.
Yeah.
Is that to satisfy our 2024 interlocal agreement?
That's this year's interlocal.
Okay,
Yes.
that's my question, because then we'll revisit that agreement for 2025.
Right, I think the interlocal agreement says 48,000, but we voted in the meeting to increase that because
That's,
everything's going up.
that answers my question, is
Okay.
which year that's for.
Yeah, so we would be sending you a check this year yet.
Okay. Are we online to do that? Are we?
Yes, I placed the order for the radios last week, after Tuesday's night's meeting. Wednesday, I got the email, signed all the paperwork, and went ahead and got the ball rolling on that. I was told roughly they're 6 weeks out.
Excellent, thank you.
So what I'll do is I'll email him back and tell him that we're gonna bill HICID. If that's what y'all decide on, we'll bill HICID, and then the city can write a check to y'all.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
That's management there. I think that's in order.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. Let's recess for an executive session. Right.
One other question. Jennifer, since you're up here from a long way away.
Microphone.
Turn your microphone.
Since you're here from such a long way away, do you have any other things to bring up to the board, or are there any questions maybe before? Since I don't know how long we're gonna be. Are you gonna stay here till later?
I'm here until Wednesday.
Oh, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Okay, yeah, your motion to recess. Yeah, your second.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded for recess to executive session. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?